Let's look at the brush tools in Illustrator. If you hold down, you're going to see two, paintbrush tool and blob brush tool. I'm going to go over both of them. The paintbrush tool, when you have it selected, you see the little round circle at the tip of the brush. That you can enlarge, decrease using the square bracket keys, just like in Photoshop. So once you start making some marks with this, you notice here, before it had a white fill and a black stroke, but once you started using the brush tool, it just went to the stroke. Because the brush tool, all it is creating strokes. Like how you created strokes with the pen tool, now you're using this brush tool and you're just kind of free-forming drawing shapes like this. But the difference is, if you were to select it, you can see here, there's all different kinds of settings. You can change the width of the brush or the stroke after the fact. You can change the color. You can also change different settings. If you use a sort of a oval, you get more of a calligraphic line here. Opacity, style, it's kind of like a fill, like a pattern thing. Command Z. And also if you use the direct select tool, you can go ahead and edit individual points like you can with like a path object or anything like that. I'm going to delete that. Now let's move on to how the blob brush works. So the blob brush, if I make this a little bit bigger and I start drawing and I select the object, there is no stroke. This has turned into kind of like when we did the expand on a stroke earlier. It expands out to the outer edge of the stroke itself. So like a little refresher here. Oh, and then it has become a fill, no longer a stroke. By contrast, if you use the pen tool and you create this shape, you have something like this, and then if you do your expand, now it's a similar kind of object to this. If you hit Command Y, you can see that, the outline view. So with the blob brush, you can do kind of more artistic things with it. I'd say it's good for filling in large areas. And then if you go over the other object, the whole thing becomes an object. Sometimes you don't want a bunch of line objects. Like if you use a regular paintbrush, and if you're doing the same thing, it may look the same, but if you go to your outline view, you're going to see that that is a bunch of lines creating the shape. While we're on brushes, let's look at the brush library. So if you go to Window, Brushes, and bring up the brush panel, you're going to see some basic defaults. For this, I'm going to use the pen tool, and I have a stroke. You can apply a bunch of different kinds of brushes, and there are a ton of libraries. So if you go to Open Brush Library, and within each section there are also a ton. I end up using some of these like ink brush, so that's a separate. Look at all the options you have here, and if I just bring that in so that they're more consolidated, you can see when you select these things what that looks like. So the brush library is a lot, and that's something you can definitely explore on your own to look at all the different variety of brushes. So you go into your brush, Open Brush Library. There's the border brush. There are a ton of presets, and you can also make your own. And in the regular brush panel, it saves all the brushes that you've been using so far. So that's a very, very tiny taste of the different kinds of brushes that you can use in Illustrator. So one final thing I wanted to go over with you that I think is kind of fun is the scatter brush. So I have created these group of stars over here, these objects. So I select them all and I drag them into my brushes panel, and it's going to give you an option. I'm just going to select scatter brush, and these are the default settings. I'm just going to leave them as is so you can see the differences. So you're going to notice your little star brush is in here. If I draw a straight path and I apply the scatter brush, that's what it looks like. If I draw a curved path and I apply the brush, that's what it looks like. And if I do a circle, that's what that looks like. If we double click on it again and look at the settings, you can rename it and you can start messing around with some of these settings. So if I make the stars smaller, and then the size, I like random. Actually, I like random for all the settings, but you can definitely play around with whatever. Spacing, let's make the stars closer together. Scatter, let's increase scatter. Wow, that gets very scattery. And rotation. Yeah, so there's all these different things that you can do with a scatter brush that could be pretty fun. And I will say, go ahead and apply the strokes.